Hey friends, it is Natalie Cargile with the Connect Network, and today we're doing something a little bit different for our June Mastermind, and we hope you are able to participate. I know a lot of our friends are going to be checking in tonight to learn more from our amazing speaker, leader, executive. She's all the things. Hey, all right, we've got some people tuning in. So yes, it's 6:32 Central Standard Time. If we haven't met, I'm Natalie Cargile, founder of the Connect Network. We are always visiting with women in business, female entrepreneurs, executives, moms, just all different types of women that are looking to learn more, be more, do more. And every month we bring someone different to the stage. And today's super fun because this young lady, yes, James Brown is coming to the Mastermind. Okay, I'm so sorry. Don't judge me. Yes, that's get up, James Brown. When it's time to get up, I need something to get me up. So yes, this is a little secret to success. You want to wake up, not push snooze, want to move along with your journey, your day, not push snooze, James Brown. Okay, so yes, Maria and I have known one another. She's our speaker for tonight. She is so amazing. I'm going to tell you about her bio in a moment, but she and I, we're almost neighbors. She lived up the street from us. We went to junior high together, high school together. We would walk to school together some days. And oh my goodness, it's so funny. She's so beautiful. She's so smart. She was a guest on the Connect show, Twin Cities. Tonight she is now, the general manager of Heidrick and Struggles. And there I'm going to read you a little bit about her so you can kind of get some understanding as to why you might want to take some notes and be interactive tonight. But she is responsible to shape the work environment, to set strategy, to allocate resources, develop teams, and oversee operations. And she has more than 15 years in experience leading organizations through transformation and also growth by synchronizing strategy and talent to drive business performance. So she has a lot of knowledge. Today, she's going to talk about how to overcome your inner critic, how you can get what you want in life, and so much more. So please help me welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the Maria Conant Howard.
Hello.
And look at you. I was like, we kind of match. I have a little red. I didn't do all the glam, so I had to have some fun glasses. Hey, Maria.
Oh, it's so good to be with you, Natalie. One of my favorite people to talk to. And look at how far we've come. I can't believe it after all these years.
It's so awesome. And I'm so impressed with you. I know you were at Linkage for quite a while, and now you are general manager of and really an incredible corporation. I will read a little bit more about some of the things that you've done and that you do, which first off, Chief Revenue Officer at Linkage. Prior to this, huge position, huge role. You have a really important job. So why don't you talk a little bit about your history in corporate America and beyond?
Yeah, it's been a lot of years in corporate America, and it's a meandering path, I always say, right? I never set out with a clear direction, but it's amazing how quickly you can gain clarity in this world that I live in, because I've gotten to work in essentially professional and leadership development for almost 20 years now. And of the various titles and roles and organizations I've worked for, I've always found that there's a few things that have remained really consistent in my journey and in my path. And also I think will be consistent in the future, no matter where I go. And one of those things is I've always thought of myself as a pioneer. And I know that sounds a little strange. Yeah. I live in Boise, Idaho, so there are literally mountains right out my door. And so I like doing that in the wilderness and outdoors. But in work, it's really been about passion to create the new and different. Where is there a huge challenge that maybe we haven't overcome before? Or how can I chart the course so that others can follow and know where to go? So this sort of the creativity and stepping into the unknown has been a big part of my career. I've also been a translator, right? So how do we make sure that we're all aligned and understand our purpose, our strategy, our goals that we have? And I always think there's three questions that almost every single day we have to answer collectively. And that's why do we exist as an organization or a community or a family, right? Who do we serve? And why am I here? Or why are you here? And if we can talk about that, then we can pretty much translate all the work and the tasks and the projects that we need to do.
Yeah.
And finally, my favorite thing that I've been able to do in my career is be a builder of talent, right? So the best role I've ever gotten to have is being a leader of people and teams. How do you help others see their potential and thrive? How do you support the development of people so that they can get to their goals and contribute in the ways that they want? And I have a particular passion around advancing women. So I've experienced what that's been like in corporate America. There's some good things, there's some not good things in the path, but how do you overcome those hurdles? And how can I do that in my own career progression to show that there's a path, but also how do I advocate for women to have equal access and opportunity and ascendancy to their career apex as they define it? So those have been the things that, regardless of role or company that I've been a part of, but they've kept me really focused and I think on a good path across my career.
So good, Maria. So tonight you're going to kind of coach us a little bit on how to get what we want, ask what we want, in life. And I love that you started our conversation today when we visited by phone with, this is not for businesswomen. Right? This conversation tonight, you don't have to be starting something or be looking to be an entrepreneur to get these skills. And the focus tonight is overcoming your inner critic, the thing that makes you stop and say, you know what, I can't do this, right? You touched on it a moment ago. I don't have the skills. I don't have the, it's the imposter syndrome. It's creeping in. Let's start with that. What are some first tips that you have to see yourself differently and see yourself in excellence?
Yeah. Well, that inner critic is such a tricky thing because we all have that voice in our heads, right? And that voice can be judgmental of ourselves or it can be judgmental of other people. And it's natural. We get triggered by things going on in the world around us all the time. I can tell you that it takes very small things at home that sometimes that get that inner critic going and might be a little critical of my partner. But there's also things at work that can happen quite frequently. And when that's triggered, you often find yourself either in a place of superiority. I'm better than. I had that a couple days ago where I shared a presentation with somebody and they had some notes and I was not in the mode of wanting to accept their feedback and sort of went to that place that said, oh, no, I know best. But I think most frequently for women, we go into that place of one down, right? Where we're hard on ourselves. I've been in a new role for 6 weeks and I have heard my inner voice tell me, are you adding value? Maybe they shouldn't have hired you. Oh, you didn't show up all that well on that meeting. So it's triggered all the time. But my goal with the inner critic, to get it out of our way, is not to say never have it speak to you, but how can you move it from inner critic to inner coach? So that now we have a coaching mentality, and that all stems from a few things. They're simple, but they require some practice, some intention. And first, we just have to be aware, right? We have to know when we're in that space of, ooh, I've gotten one up, or, oh, I'm not feeling so great. So, pause and really just say, when is that happening? And it's so funny now that we're all on Zooms all the time and seeing each other. I ran an experiment with myself where after a meeting a few weeks ago, I knew I was in one up. And I thought, let me go back and watch that meeting and see how I acted, how I spoke, how was I showing up in that way? And it was cringeworthy, right? So I was in one up. I crossed my arms. I furrowed my brow. I didn't particularly look engaged. I was short in my responses. And I was horrified that that's how I treated my colleagues. And so it created that awareness, right? That I now, every time I'm on a video call, I think back to that and say, okay, I need to be a little bit more aware. And after that, then we got to pause, because the reality is what we think and feel drives what we say and do, right? So because I was thinking and feeling a little superior that day, I then said things and behaved in ways that showed that. So we have to stop reacting out loud and give ourselves a little bit of time to reflect and reset, because then we can react from a compassionate place. When I take a breath, and that could be 10 seconds, it could be 1 hour, it could be I'm having a glass of wine, leave me alone for a little bit of time. But when we pause and reset, we often come from a much more compassionate place. And that's the next thing. You always need to be compassionate. And what I would say, especially for the women out there right now, let's first be compassionate with ourselves, right?
So
what
true.
advice are we giving other people that we aren't taking for ourselves? When have we given ourselves grace? Are we leaning on others as much as we allow others to lean on us? So compassion isn't just something we give, it's something we receive.
Wow, I love that. I love that you're also using yourself as an example, because being that you do have this high power job, high power journey, right, that you deserve, and that's why you are where you are. You don't often hear those in leadership speaking as themselves as an example. So I think that's very powerful. Let's talk a little bit more on that. And I'm willing to definitely take some questions. We have a lot of people that are loving what you're sharing, Maria. So I'm so glad. I don't know if you can see here in the comments. Ladies, gentlemen, jump on in if you do want to ask Maria a question. And a lot of people are talking about their inner critic and how it can be quite aggressive. So I can see that as well. So how do you know when you're heading down that road going the wrong way? What are some ways we can say, hold on, let me just back up a minute. You talk about that. What are some indications, or, because sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, you didn't handle that well. Or, there are times where you do need to check yourself, but when are you doing it in, not a positive way?
Yeah, I always say you can be a truth teller, but you have to make sure that you're doing that in a way that is authentic out loud, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing that from an authentic place, then I'm allowing my full self, my empathy, my curiosity to come through. Even if I don't agree with something, or, maybe don't have a positive reaction, at least I'm being authentic in it. The minute that I start feeling myself behaving a certain way, or like someone, maybe I'm behaving for someone on that call and not for everyone and not for me, right? So I kind of have this authenticity meter that I need to check in with to say, am I being truly present and authentic in myself right now? Or am I starting to feel like I need to be a certain way or act a certain way for a reason that's outside of my own core values and way that I show up? So that's a way that I can kind of quickly check in and say, ooh, I might be going down the path of the inner critic showing up a little bit more than I'd like it to.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about getting what we want, because I think all of this is going back to mindset, confidence, what you're feeding your mind, your soul. What are some things that we can do to encourage ourselves positively? I know for me, I love audibles. I love reading. Are there exercises? Are there tips or strategies that we can, take with us in our executive journeys or our journeys as leaders in our households to build our confidence so we can get what we want in life?
Yes. So one thing I'm actually going to tell us, instead of adding something, we have to subtract. We have to stop doing so much, right? So part of the way that we get to a place where we can be confident and powerful and embrace what we want in the world is by stop doing so much. And what I talk about that, I mean, we're proving our value all of the time, right? And that shows up in a few ways. I suffer from the disease to please. So I have this problem where I think I need to please and make everyone else happy. And it creates this automatic yes in my world, which can get me in trouble, because then the inner critic kicks on a little bit more. I'm exhausted. I'm annoyed. I think my life is an endless task list and to-do list. And I don't think I'm the most engaging when I'm in that mode. And so one thing I would say actually as a tip is we have to stop doing so much. So try just saying no to one thing this week. Just one thing. Could be little, could be big, but actually write it down, track what you said no to, and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Did the family fall apart? Did the work explode? Or did life keep going actually in a pretty decent way? So one tip I always say is actually to take something off the list, take something off the plate, versus always thinking we have to add more. And I think that gives us a little bit of breathing room to reconnect with who we are, our confidence, our value that we bring, versus feeling like it's another task we have to get done. I don't know if that resonates for you, Natalie. You run the world pretty much. So I don't know how you how you do it all.
I think it's funny. It's like things are getting so much easier just by saying no. And I love that piece that you're sharing, because there was that season in my life where I was looking to just make everything happen at the same time, willing to sacrifice my sleep, my just eating, going through drive-thrus, just all of those things that can take you from your goal, because then you start gaining weight, and then you start like not having, a good attitude. And then your kids like think you're like grumpy mom. Why are you so grumpy, mom? favorite thing to say. Why are you so grumpy, Mom? Don't put your face like that, Mom. It's so funny. So I think, saying no is very powerful. Creating boundaries in your life is very powerful. And when I really started to do that, I could truly see a big difference in just leaps, more time for what really matters, and the happiness and the joy and all of that kind of vibrates together. So
yeah, we sometimes hold ourselves to this idea that it has to be a certain way. And I think probably this last year taught us all a lot about a different way of living, perhaps a simpler way of living, sometimes a suffocating way of living, not being able to go out. But I think it helped us reset a little bit to say, hey, what really matters, what really adds value. And I think another thing that I've really worked on trying to let go is I had this notion for a while that people should just spontaneously recognize my contribution, right? Like I get something done. I could clean the house or make a nice meal, or I could get a work project done, and everybody should just, sort of stand up and applause, right? Yes. And I put it on everybody else, which would be nice. I mean, if that would happen, that'd be fabulous. But the reality is I have to take ownership of presenting my accomplishments out into the world, right? I once had a mentor who said, Maria, get in the game. Like, this idea that just working hard enough is enough. You need to be able to tell the story, and you can present it as data. It doesn't need to be braggadocious or anything else, but how do you start representing who you are and what you're doing as a normal course of business? And that can be at home, that can be at work, that can be in the community. But if you don't own it and put it out there, how do you expect others to just spontaneously give you a standing, round of applause? And so that has been a helpful tip for me to get more comfortable in going after what I want, because I have a better way of representing who I am and what I've been able to accomplish with others as well.
And even as just someone staying at home, able to teach the other homeschool moms how you stay organized, right? How you keep your kids on track. And it's what, Danielle Leslie likes to call the culture add. What you add has value. Even if you're not looking to generate an income off of it, what you've learned has value. And developing your brand bank to where when it comes time to let people know who you are, what you do, how you deliver, you're ready, right? Yes. Because then you're going to go home and be mad, right? You're going to be like, oh my gosh, today I met fill in the blank, but you weren't ready. Okay. So you got to be ready for opportunity when it presents itself, and preparing your brand bank, what sets you apart from the rest, and just positioning yourself in a leadership type of a way to where people can say, ooh, you know what? Man, I'm going to ask Maria. Yeah. Maria will know. She does this. She does that. She has this background. She knows this. And it's important to be able to at least be prepared to share and get excited about yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think you raised such a great point, which is you never know who you're going to end up in a conversation with, who you're going to run into, where if you don't tell your story and tell that proudly and own that, you're actually just reducing the opportunities that others have to engage with you, right? And to me, all of the experiences that we have, the best thing that we can hope for is that they give us opportunities and choices, right? There's no perfect path. There's no one way to do things or one job to have, but they give us choices because we have this array of things that we can point to and look at. And that's what we have to represent to other people. Here's all the things I've done and why I'm choosing to explore this, or why I want to talk to you and learn about X, Y, or Z, or why I'm telling you should give me that promotion, because I have this collection. Now, the biggest thing, and you are so good at this, Natalie, is how do you do it in a storytelling way? Nobody wants their resume, wants you to read them to your resume or tell them all the things you've done in a day. How do you create a powerful story, therefore a brand that identifies you and creates your uniqueness out there? And I think that's where we have to put more time and energy. It's not just a collection of all the things we've done. It's how we represent that in a really compelling way.
Yeah, I agree, Maria. I love it so much. And there's just so much there with what you're sharing. We do have a question from Michaela Club. She wants to know where and how, what ways are you, and places do you share those wins? Maria, yes. Where can you share these if you don't run into so-and-so at the supermarket? Where can you let people know who you are? Where do you let them know?
That's right. So, Michaela, I'm so glad you asked this because the first place you need to capture this is for yourself. So I have a smile file where I place, yeah, you got to have the smile file, right? So it's anything from an acknowledgement that I may have gotten, a thank you card, a text somebody gave me that was really meaningful to me. So my smile file is my first place to just put those things that kind of lit you up, that somebody recognized that you did. That's the first place I do it. Then I have my what I call my work in progress folder, and this is where I start to craft what are the things I've done, what are the contributions. So it starts here first, right? So I've got to be clear. What I have become more brave with, and it's been a really bit hard, but I'm so glad I started the practice, is I need to make sure each week I've shared something about myself. Now, this could be accomplishment, or this could be a learning, or this could be, whatever it is. But I need to share with family, with friends, and with a network. And so I will go on LinkedIn and say, wow, I'm so excited because I got to be on the Connect tonight and I got to speak to amazing women. That's actually something I post out there, right? That's an accomplishment for me that I want to share with people. And what's great is people say, wow, what is this network? What's this community? How can I join? What did you talk about? And suddenly you're really in an engaging conversation. So it's easiest to share with family. It's pretty easy to share with friends, but then you have to force yourself to share something with your network. And again, it doesn't always have to be, here's the other thing I've learned. Some of the most powerful statements and stories that I share aren't always the super positive ones, because a lot of our accomplishments come through tough stuff. They come through learning. They come through hardship. They come through what I like to call heat, sometimes pressure, where I didn't perform so well, but I still learned and accomplished something because, wow, that now has advanced me to a different place. I'm not going to make that mistake again, or I'm going to know how to better handle that situation. So that helps me balance out the things that I really feel strongly about, like this is a really great thing, and the lessons. And I found it creates a really open place for people to share their learnings as well. So that's the other thing. It doesn't just have to be the bright, shiny, as I always say, our social media lives that look pretty perfect. Well, it's not perfect. So where can I share things that, hey, this was hard, or I had this really difficult conversation, but it really taught me this today. Those are just as important to share with others. But family, friends, network, making sure you have your own smile file and work in progress folder as well.
That is so good. Smile file. That is in the brand bank, right? Put that away. I'm going to make sure to do that. I love that. And I want to just, before we get into our next question from Christy Primer, she has a great question too. I want to share more about Heidrick Struggles, where you are the general manager. I read just some of your website earlier today, and I was really impressed with some of the facts. And so I just wanted to share that with people that are watching tonight. And we appreciate you guys being with us. So Heidrick Struggles is the premier provider of senior level executive search, culture shaping, and leadership consulting services. And they serve more than 70% of the Fortune 1000 with clients in virtually every industry and sector around the globe. Thank you, Natalie. You guys, my babysitter's name is Natalie. She's the best. Whenever she's home from college, say hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi, sweetie.
Thanks, Nat. So, oh goodness. All right, everybody. This is my other little sweet baby, Mina Jean. We're in a mastermind, honey. Say hi to my friend Maria from when I was a little girl. She's still my friend today. She's so smart. I'm gonna be just like her.
Hi, honey.
All right. Okay, you guys gotta go. Be good girls. Be good boy. Thank you. But anyhow, just love that. And so the information you're getting tonight is super premium because, as I mentioned, she is leading a company that is serving more than 70% of the Fortune 1000 clients and companies out there. So super, super awesome to have you tonight. Our next question is from my girl, Christy Primer. She's amazing. She's a TV rock star in Canada. She's also a member of the Connect. She is a high income earning boss, right? We get to talk about a lot of things. Her question for you is tips, Maria. She wants to know, how do you diffuse your inner critic when you're starting something totally new, totally next level, and you still have that cast of doubt?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I am so there right now. So this is, I'll try to remind myself to take my own advice. So part of, I think, what can get in our way is we hold ourselves to the ideal endpoint, right? That may not come for months or years, but we have this idea that, oh, I'm in this new job. That means I'm supposed to be immediately effective and impactful and build this network and deliver results. And that's just not realistic. So part of what I've tried to do when something's new or next level is I break it down into bite-sized pieces, just a weekly plan. I want to accomplish 3 things this week. And I want to meet 2 new people. I want to finish that deck I was working on. And, I want to collaborate with so-and-so. When it's in its bite-sized pieces, then you can really measure the movement that you're making versus holding yourself to this, down the road state that you'll get to, but it's going to take time, right? Nothing happens instantaneously. So that's a big way that I've been able to make the new and different not feel so enormous and intimidating, and not holding myself to something that would be impossible to accomplish. I mean, again, I'm 6 weeks into my role. I am not going to know everyone, be impressive, get a bunch done in 6 weeks. But if each week I can break that apart and say, what are the most critical things? And then my most important thing is, what did I learn? What did I learn? Because that is a way to turn that inner critic into an inner coach. As long as I'm learning, even through mistakes, then I am growing.
Absolutely. And I doubt it. Okay. 6 weeks with you would be like a dream, Maria. You're so smart. You have so many just innovative ideas and just experience. And I think that's the piece too that we have to appreciate, because at some point in your mindset, you're either going to look at your experience as a disaster, or you're going to look at that experience as the most incredible dip that brought you to this next level that you didn't even know you were prepared for. Right.
Yep.
That's how you look at your situation. And so I just find that very powerful in the way that you move and your experience as well. What are some tips for those women that are out here tonight? I know we have a lot of business owners here. Good evening, Sonia Castillo. She just has shared that her life coach, Leah Balchus, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I'm sorry, taught me that acknowledgement is one of my core values. This has helped me tremendously. Check her out if you need some guidance. Acknowledgement. We had a counselor speak on that on the Connect show recently, just acknowledging, because a lot of times we hold ourselves responsible for things that we might not be responsible for. Yes. And we'll carry this burden for someone else that may not even know we're carrying it. But when you sit back and you acknowledge your participation, you may find that I didn't do anything, or maybe I could have done this different. So many things. Maybe touch on that a little bit. Acknowledgement. How does that help in fighting your inner critic and what you want in life?
Well, it's so funny, and I think as women we tend to be pretty generous, but I do find it easier to acknowledge others than myself, right? So that's a good place to start. So if I'm more comfortable with that, who have I reached out to, who have I congratulated? And what I find is, in the process of writing a sincere acknowledgement of someone, whether that's, hey, you went through something, I'm here with you, great job, whatever that is, I'm able to then reflect on myself. So sometimes it starts by giving it, and then we have to figure out how to give it back this way. But you're right. We often think we need to take responsibility for everything. And so I always say, how do you, again, kind of that bite-sized piece thing, how do you break it down? What was actually behind that? What role did I play? What did I need to let go? Who else is responsible? How do we have that conversation? So I think acknowledgement is hugely important to kind of check ourselves, to say, hey, if I'm doing something that's really energizing and great, fantastic, keep going. If I'm doing something that doesn't fit with my core values or feels uncomfortable, I need to check in on that. I need to acknowledge what's going on. And I've got to make sure that, again, I'm authentic out loud to those around me, so that if something's happening that I'm carrying a burden, or that I took on something that I didn't need to, I've got to be able to have that honest conversation, right? So I have to acknowledge it here first, but then I have to take action on that, because if I can't address it directly, then I'm going to keep carrying it. And I'm going to keep holding on. So I have a colleague who has this amazing mantra that I have to remind myself every day.
Okay.
And she says, Maria, you have to bless and release. And I sat back and I said, okay, so what does that mean? And she said, well, you can bless others by either being honest, inspiring, or authentic with them about something. and then you can release it from yourself or release them to go take it for you. So bless and release is also a way to acknowledge.
That is really good. We have a couple other questions. Let me ask you, should you give yourself, right, this Facebook user, should she give herself a timeline to make the next move within a company?
So I think it is always important to have clarity of what you want to achieve. And I would say as important as the timeline is, when can you clearly define the story of what you walked into, what you did to address it, and what the outcome was. And again, it doesn't mean it was only a good news story. There will be ups and downs around that. But once you feel like you've gotten there, then absolutely, I think it's okay to say, I am ready for the next role. And I'll give you a real example. As Natalie said, I was the chief revenue officer at a company called Linkage, which focuses on the advancement of women. And I went in, and my CEO and I talked. It was probably going to be about a 3-year gig. I kind of knew what I was there to do. I needed to build a brand new function. I needed to get teams working together. I needed to bring us out to the market in a different way. And so I kind of had a clear idea from the beginning of what that would take. And about 2.5 years in, I was sort of there. The things that I had set out to do, I'd accomplished. And I really started looking at my next steps and my next year or 2 years. And I had an honest conversation with our CEO and said, I don't know what's coming next, right? I know I have a job, but I'm somebody who loves challenge and wants to continue to grow and learn. And I'm not clear about what that's going to be. And so it led me to actually make the decision to take another role. I loved the company, but I'd kind of done what I needed to do, and I had that story to tell. So I do think it's okay to give yourself a timeline, so long that the timeline aligns to those lessons that you need to learn, those cycles that you need to have to get done whatever it is you're there to do. But I would say be really transparent about that, and not in an ultimatum, it's 3 years or I'm out, but more in a, here's how I'm thinking of it. It seems like we both agree that I've done X, Y, and Z. I'm really excited about what's coming next. And if that's not something that, my current company can offer me for many different reasons, then I need to be clear about what I want and go get what I want.
It's important to know what you want, where you want to go. And the reason you were able to make such a leap and a decision is because you had a plan, right? You had a goal. 3 years, you had a vision. 2.5 years, you're at that point, and it's like, oh, well, let me see how else I can make this happen. That was a great question. Michaela Club, another question. How to manage, or how do you manage being authentic out loud in a workplace setting where you may not be in a position of power? You might be like the little guy for now, but you want to let them know, hey, don't overlook me. I've got something great too. How do you manage being authentic out loud?
Well, I think one interesting thing that the last year has done for us is I believe it's brought more humanity to work. And I will admit that I was a little bit, not purposefully, but inhumane before the pandemic. I didn't talk about my family that much. And I was always in the office or traveling. We talked about work. People didn't really know my passions or interests or things like that. And so one good thing that's opened up is, even I've had people who've said, hey, what is that behind you on your shelf? So you can kind of bring a little bit of yourself to the office if you're not physically in an office right now. The other thing that I always try to do is when people ask me, hey, how was your weekend? Or sometimes that chatter that happens in the first 5 minutes or last 5 minutes of a meeting, that is my time to tell someone something about myself. Right? They're really informal moments, and often we breeze over them. How's your weekend? Oh, it's great. How was yours? Oh, great. Cool. And now I'm really intentional about, I'm going to tell them something about me. You know what? This last weekend I went out and played tennis for the first time in 20 years. And I was awful. My gosh, I had so fun because I just love sports and it felt so good to get out. And okay, now they know something about, benign about tennis, but over time it starts to build the picture, right? So the fact that I live in Boise, Idaho, and I love the mountains, I bring that into my stories all the time so that people know I have a real passion. And guess what? A colleague today, who I don't know very well, sent me a link to a hike he's going to do in 2 months and said, hey, I thought you might be interested in this, right? And that's how we can start being authentic, not only about our work selves, but about our full selves out loud. Capture those informal moments and be intentional about telling people who you are, whether it's your hobbies, your family, your passions, something you're struggling with. Those are great moments where it doesn't feel overwhelming. But it just feels like you can have a moment to connect.
That's so good, Maria. Great examples that you have. So many great examples. And I just love listening and learning from women that are doing it big and telling you about the experience along the way. A lot of times you don't get that side of the story. So good. Okay, let me see what else we have here. Make sure we get all of these questions in. One question that I have, Maria, is, you've been able to really build your own kind of a brand of excellence to where people want you to lead their businesses and their companies. And these are big corporations we're talking about. How does one put themselves in a position to be seen by a brand, seen by a larger corporation, and get them to say, you know what, I want to work with them? What do we need to do?
So I think one of the biggest things I was blessed with was earlier in my career was a sponsor. And a sponsor is not the same as a mentor, right? It's not somebody who's coaching me or helping me through things. There's somebody who goes out and talks about you. And they are intentionally talking about you to other people you may not have access to. And so one of the ways that I look at how my network has grown and how I've gotten opportunities is because I have engaged some sponsors. I have either asked somebody to do that. I've, maybe it started as a mentor relationship and I noticed that, they're in a much more senior position, or, hey, I know you're going to be talking to this person. I'd love it if there's a way that you could make an introduction or talk about the work that I'm doing and how it connects. So never be afraid to ask others to advocate or speak to you and your gifts and your skill sets on your behalf. It's not just about what they can give to you. It's what they need to go put out into the world. So that's been hugely helpful. And that really exponentially expands your network. The other thing that I think, Natalie, you do so well, and so many people have gotten so much more adept at, is with social media and all the social places, you have a real opportunity to put a stamp on what you want to be known for. I'm passionate about women's causes, and so I post about them. I follow people about that. I talk about that a lot, right? So it's a place for people to get a sense of me outside of just my work accomplishments and the things that really matter. And more companies hire not just on skills and experience, but also on kind of that purpose, value, culture fit. Do we care about the same things? If we're serving customers in a certain way, do you have that alignment? So always be really active and proactive in defining who you are out into the world, but get other people to talk about you.
So good. So good. A sponsor, check. Write that down. Put that in the smile file. All right, Maria, I got to ask one last question before you go, being that you have been a chief revenue officer, you know all about where the money resides, how to get the cash, how to ask for what you want. Let's talk money, because that comes with asking for what you want, asking for your price. And that might be your product, your service. It might be your salary that you're requesting. And as a business owner, it also could be just about generating more income for your company. Leave us with a few tips where we can do a few of the above: making more money for our companies, asking for more money for ourselves, our products, our services. How do we find out, yes, Christy Primer, where the money resides and get what we deserve?
Yes. So I'll start with how you go capture it in the market. To me, the biggest thing to bring more money into your company is you have to know explicitly why you are best positioned to solve a problem. So you need to know what problem you're trying to solve, and you need to know what makes you special. Now that's hard, right? Because I work in a world where there's lots of search companies or there's lots of consulting companies. You only need one or two or three things, right? It's not trying to be everything. Do not try to be everything to everyone. You're a peanut butter spread and you're not memorable. But they need to know the 1 to 2 to 3 things that makes that the most delicious peanut butter sandwich I've ever experienced in my life, right? So I think getting really, really honed in on those differentiators and being able to speak to them specifically to the pain point or the need or the desire of the person that you're going after, right? So it becomes very intimate and connected to who I am. So that's always been a big part of how I've gone out into the world and generated business. Is I have got to represent this simply, succinctly, where they know exactly who we are. I always say, get to the no as fast as possible, because if you don't get to a no right away, it's going to be a yes, right? But I want to get all those no's out of the way, that if I'm not the right person for them, great, move on next, right? And then the person who doesn't give me the no, I know they're my person. So that's one way. I think the other thing that's really important in terms of the money we make, and the income we want to command, and the price that we think we have our value on. Very similarly, for your own brand, you need to know the 1 to 2 to 3 things that make you special and impactful. And you need to be able to present those to a problem your business is trying to solve. So when I go in to ask for a promotion, it's not because it's been a certain amount of time or, oh, I noticed that, so-and-so's getting paid more. No, I need to know my value and my brand. And I need to make sure those two things are connected. And if the organization understands how that brings value to them, then often I can get what I want. But I've got to make sure it's specific and succinct and tied to the pain that my company has, to say, here's why I'm an employee that's worth continuing to invest in, because this is what I'm going to give back to you. So either way, to me, it's so much about that crisp clarity of who I am, who I'm here to serve, and how I'm going to do that, connected to the pain or the need or the desire that you have.
See here.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that. Maria, that's so good. That is so good. And I see why you are getting what you want out of life. Okay? Your leadership skills, your experience, it's so wonderful being able to visit with you and learn from you. And I'm so grateful that you came and shared with us tonight. It's almost 7:15, so we are going to wrap. But so many people are saying, great info. Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Thank you. Great questions. Leveling up your connections and getting noticed. Get on the radar. Maria, I want to leave us with one last tip tonight so we can get what we want in life, overcome our inner critic, and just head into Q3. Okay, now how did this happen? Right? We were all like, 2020 is going on forever. We're never going to be out of 2020. And now we're already in Q3 coming up next month. So what are some last tips for us to just go out there and not be afraid? You've talked about the money. You talk about commanding your price. You've talked about a lot. What's one last tip you want to leave us?
Here's the simple thing. I want all of us to say out loud right now, and because this will help break down that inner critic every single day.
Okay.
I am enough. I am enough.
I am enough.
I am enough. I am enough. You are enough. We are enough. And if we can really live and lean into that, the barriers remove themselves because you have removed yourself as a barrier. But you have to continue to remember and to know and to own that you are enough. And leave it at that. It's amazing the energy that you can bring forward in your daily life.
That's right. It all starts up here. Maria Conant Howard, thank you so much for being with us tonight. How can people follow you, keep up with you, and maybe, I don't know, reach out to you, work with you? You have a lot of great companies here in the Permian Basin and across the world.
Absolutely. Yes. So yeah, please follow. I'm on LinkedIn, so I'd love to connect with all of you on LinkedIn. I'm Maria Howard at Heidrick Struggles. I'm M Conant, Konat, on Instagram, where I love following amazing business owners and powerful women. So follow me. I'd love to follow you on Facebook as well. So I'm happy to connect in any way. And please, if any of you have any other questions or want to reach out, I love connecting, especially Natalie, with everybody in your network. They've always been such an amazing group of women. So thank you all for the opportunity to be with you.
So happy to have you, Maria. Well, everybody, make it a great night. We will see you next month for our July Mastermind. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.